Boom! Welcome to another edition of Whiteboard Sessions. I'm your host, Frederick Douglass Bussey. Today we're going to be talking about how to get more sales in your business. Broad topic, but we're going to simplify it and make it really, really simple so you can understand how you can get this shift to be able to continue to grow the sales in your company, to be able to get more revenue, to be able to grow, make other investments. That's the whole point, to keep moving forward, right? As always, that is the goal. We're going to talk about it here today. Let's go to work. All right, I got a lot to discuss. We're going to put this into a small box, hopefully, so you can really understand. For those of you who are watching on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, drop a comment below. Let me know where you're watching from. I love to get your comments and your questions. If you can share with me what you're discovering. And this is for those of you who have businesses. Maybe you got 1 to 10 employees. You might be the one. Or maybe you are running a small team, 10 to 15 people. You've got a couple of salespeople that are bringing in, dealing with the leads that you're generating, whether it's online or they're going out and making phone calls or knocking on doors for other businesses or customers, whatever the case may be. There's a process that you can go through and install in your company to be able to get more sales. One of the challenges that people have is not understanding what that process is and what it looks like. And so I want to break down a couple of different things. I'm going to give you a couple of frameworks to give you some context for what we're talking about. And then I'm going to share with you a simple shift in perspective to help you to understand why you may not be as effective in your sales process. You or your team are not as effective as you'd like to be able to continue to grow your momentum in your business and to be able to scale. So let's talk about it here, right? So first of all, I've talked about it before. What we do at Icon Status is we do consulting and coaching for other entrepreneurs in their businesses. And we use a framework called Scalosity, right? So Scalosity, TM. And it's basically a framework that helps you to generate more momentum in your business, right? And so that comes from 3 basic areas. All right. It deals with mindset. It deals with leverage. And it deals with influence. All right. Now, the reason why these are so important is because you need to know how to think about a problem, how to think about your business in order to execute on it properly. You need to be able to create enough influence, in other words, to be able to draw enough people, attract enough clients and customers into your business to be able to sustainably be able to grow it over time. And then leverage, you need to be able to have the systems that allow you to do this repeatably and predictably so that you can look out a year, 3 months, 6 months, a year, 5 years and say, this is where we should be. So you can set certain targets and know you can hit them. And so when you're doing goal setting, when you want to build something strategically, you need to be able to have the systems that allow you to be able to do that as effectively and as efficiently as possible, right? So those are the 3 areas that we deal with. How does that deal with sales? Well, one of the areas when we come to sales is under the aspect of influence, right? And I'm going to draw this out a little bit more because there's other aspects of it. There's advertising, there's sales, there's marketing, and then there's branding, right? Now, why am I drawing it this way? I want to illustrate to you that these are all entities that come out of the one aspect of influence, right? You want to be able to influence people in a different way. And I'm going to illustrate that in a different way in just a second to show you why sales has not been as effective for you as it should be or as it could be, right? So what a lot of people do is they just want to get out there and sell. And so they say, well, you got to get out there and pitch people. Matter of fact, I'll tell you a story. I remember when I was just got out of college, right? Maybe I was a senior or maybe I was in grad school. I can't even remember now. But I think I was a senior in college. And I had an apartment. And so at that time, I'm looking for a job. And one of the easiest jobs to get in any environment is a sales job because they're always open. You're always going to be looking for people. You're always going to be trying to find people that can sell. So I got a job doing sales. And I was working for a radio station. I was selling ad time on the radio station, 100% commission. So I had no support essentially. Not only was I selling the ads, I actually had to create the ads and get them on the air. So it was a full service type of gig. And I remember I got my first sale, and I went to actually some one of the departments at my college, my alma mater. And so I went to the college and I sold them, and I got that first deal. And so it was a really good feeling. But the problem was that was the only sale I ever got. And so because it was commission based and I needed to make money right away, right, I walked away from that job. Had I understood what I understand now about sales and understand that there is no cap into what you can make, then I would have been a lot more enthusiastic. And had I had this perspective shift for myself, I would have understood a lot better how to be able to create more income for myself to make more sales, right? And so the thing that I would have wanted to understand now that I didn't understand then was this, that sales is actually a multi-level process. It's in different phases. And there are different aspects to it that allow you to be successful. But even if you don't have those other aspects, you can still win at sales if you understand all the different things that go into it, right? And so the reason why we call it in the Scholastic model influence is because you want to be able to persuade people. You want to be able to influence them to make a decision. Yes. But the way that influence works is counterintuitive to the way that everyone else thinks it works in the world. When I say everyone else, I mean most people that are doing it wrong. Because when you really understand how influence works, you understand that influence is almost invisible, right? And so a lot of people, even in conspiracy theorists, you'll hear a lot of other gurus, marketing gurus, they'll talk about tactics, they'll talk about how people are being brainwashed, conditioned, all those things. Those things exist. But the reason why they exist and the reason why they work is because even if you can see them, they're still influential and effective because of how human psychology works. And if you don't understand that, then you're just going to be throwing tactics against the wall and trying to see what sticks. And that's not an effective way to be able to scale your business. So what am I talking about, right? So in the sales process, you actually have four different boxes, right? And let me know in the comments if this is making sense for you, because I want to make sure you're following along, right? So you got four different boxes. You got advertising, you got marketing, you got sales, and then you got branding. Now, one of the biggest problems is that most people think branding goes over here, and it doesn't. Branding doesn't come first. Like a lot of people are thinking about, well, you gotta have a logo, you gotta have a website, you gotta have all these other things that are going on, right? And so they're wasting their time talking about that stuff. Branding actually happens last. I'll tell you why in a second. First of all, advertising. A lot of people think they get marketing and advertising mixed up. And I used to do that for a long time. I was actually in the PR space and I used to get that mixed up until I really started understanding the difference and the distinction between the two. Why is that important? Because a lot of people are advertising and they think they're marketing, right? And so advertising is creating awareness. Advertising is letting people know who you are and that you exist, what you do, etc. And so that's a very, very fundamental way of reaching people. But what a lot of people think is that's all they need to do. If I just tell people I exist, if I just tell them I have a product, if I just tell them I have a store, a solution, whatever the case may be, that's going to work. And that's all I have to do. I just need to tell more people and they'll come, right? And that's just a fundamental part. People have to know you exist, yes. But the second part of it is that they need to know where they exist in the story. Marketing is storytelling. Marketing is creating a story where you create a context for what you do, for who you are, and how you reach certain people is that you tell a story that appeals and resonates with them. And because people don't understand this part of it, they either do this or they do this. But they don't do both and don't understand how they relate to each other. And you want to move people from awareness to the storytelling to the sales process, right? And this is still very fundamental. There's a whole different aspect of that we talk about in marketing. We have another aspect where we talk about storytelling, right? Where we talk about the story graphics. What is that? I'll talk about that in another video, but I want you to understand that each of these elements has other phases and elements to it. So it's more complicated, but I want to simplify it so you can understand how you can get more sales in your business and why you're not being as effective as you want to be, right? So you got the sales process, and we're going to talk about that in a second, right? Then you understand that you're moving to the branding. And why do I say branding happens last? Branding happens last because branding is not what you want to tell people about who you are, right? So a lot of people think it's your colors, it's your logo, it's your tagline, it's your website, it's your billboards, or whatever the case may be that people see around. They think that that's building a brand, but the branding happens throughout this entire process, and it happens because branding is actually what people think and feel about you when they hear about your brand. So when you talk about a company, if I mention Apple, or if I mention Disney, if I mention Google, if I mention Facebook, if I mention Amazon, if I mention Salesforce, if I mention any of these companies, there is either a positive connotation or a negative connotation or no connotation. And if there's no connotation for what people think or hear or feel when they hear your brand, then you don't have a brand, right? At least not in the mind of that customer. And if you want to own a certain space, you need to be able to have that brand. Now, the way that you develop that brand is actually here. This is one of the most important elements. And the sales process is the most important because what a lot of people think that they're doing in sales is pitching, right? They think that's what they're doing to the customer. I have to sell them on my product. I have to sell them on my solution. And what most people are doing is the exact opposite of that. They're actually pushing people away because one of the things that we think about is that because we believe that is what sales is, what most salespeople believe it is pitching themselves, is convincing people, is winning them over, right? They have to be more outgoing and more gregarious and more knowledgeable, right? Then because of that, they're actually doing the process in reverse. And what you want to really do is you don't want to be adversarial with the customer. You don't even want to be too friendly with them. What you want to do is you want to come alongside them and point them in a direction. You want to help them, assist them in being able to create what they want, the outcome that they want. And so the shift that you get to make is understanding that sales is not what you do to someone, it's what you do for them. As a matter of fact, it's really what you do with them. It is a collaborative process. It's a discovery of who and what they are. And if you come into it, you can almost come into it agnostic, right? You can come into it ignorant of who they are in any way. And with a true level of curiosity, you can be able to guide that person in any direction that they want to go and have more influence so that you can guide them in the direction that you want them to go, which is to point them in the direction of your product and help them to decide how to choose to purchase what you have to offer. That's how you grow a business. If you have that process down, you can repeatedly do that over and over again, you can win. Here's the challenge. With most salespeople, the biggest thing that they think that they need is more marketing material, more leads, better leads. They need better positioning in the marketplace. They put all these things outside their frame of reference, outside of the frame of their control. And when you're doing that, when you're existing outside the frame of your own control, you actually are powerless. And why is that important? It's important because if you feel powerless as a salesperson, what you're offering, and you come from a position where you are not powerful, how can you hold someone else powerful? How can you empower someone else? You cannot give someone something that you don't have yourself, right? And so if you can't empower that person, the customer, the client, in that transaction, then essentially what you're going to do is they're going to sense that from you. And now they feel that if they have the power, the only way to keep their power or to be empowered is to say no, is to walk away, is to look somewhere else. And so one of the things that we get to understand about sales is that sales is really leadership, right? Leadership is helping people to get what they want. One of the reasons why people don't get what they want is because they don't know what they want. Now, they may know what they don't want, but a lot of times it's not been articulated. And very rarely do people ever ask people in their lives, what do you want? What do you want for yourself? and ask them in a way that allows them to discover not only that they can have what they want, that it's possible, but that it's more possible and more important to get what they want than they actually thought. And so the more clear you can help someone get on what they want, the more clear you can help them to understand, more clearly you can help them to understand why what they want is not only possible but necessary. Then what you're doing is now you're raising the stakes. You're allowing them to see, oh, this is necessary, it's important. And if it's so important to spend the time to go through that discovery process, then who is the most logical person that I should make that decision for to get the outcome that I want? Who should I buy from? Who should I buy that solution from? I should buy it from the person that helped me to get there, right? Because nobody wants to think about it this way. If you're a realtor and you're showing houses to someone, you're helping them walk through that decision, that process, and it happens over a week, over a month, over 3 or 4 months, why would you would either decide this realtor doesn't know what they're doing, or the more comfortable the realtor helps you to get with the process, then the more likely you are to go with them, right? Because it's a huge decision. You want to go with someone that makes you feel comfortable, but also makes you feel seen and heard and understood. This is the same way it works with every client, right? Every client or customer wants to feel like they're being cared for, that they're being nurtured, that they're being empowered. And a lot of times what's happening is that your salespeople are actually stripping the power away from their clients, away from the customers, because they're trying to prove to them that they're worthy of it. And I was talking to a client just yesterday, as a matter of fact, talking about this whole process. And she was, in fact, intimating how she felt uncomfortable in that process because she felt like she wasn't worthy, even though when we were talking about all of her experience and things like that, she had an intimate knowledge of the process, of why what she was offering is so valuable to her potential clients. But coming from a place of where you lack power, where you feel like you don't know enough, what you do is we tend to try to make up for that. Now, how do we do that? We try to make up for it by overexerting ourselves, by trying to prove and make or overpromise or make these exorbitant claims. And so you hear people that are making these great grand promises and telling all these things. And what happens is that actually feels untrue. It rings untrue to people because they're not clear why the promise has to be so big if you haven't walked them through that process, right? So we talked about advertising, marketing, and why branding comes last, why sales is so important. And the thing that you really want to do is you want to understand how you are leading people to make a powerful decision, right? So a lot of times what people are really doing is they don't know how or why they're making the decision that they're making. But if you can be the one that can help them, then you can elevate yourself in their eyes. And that creates a situation where now not only are they buying from a powerful place, but they are also less likely to turn around and get a refund. They're going to stay with you longer. They're going to feel more loyalty. And that allows you to do a couple of things. One, allows you to continue to generate more revenue. They're going to buy from you again. They're going to buy from you repeatedly. They're going to buy for you or pay you longer over time. And the other thing, and lastly, when they do that, they develop that relationship. And one day we'll talk about this, but they develop a ascension. They ascend as a customer in your brand scale. And when that happens, now you're building a powerful brand. Think about Apple, for example. How many of you have ever had an iPhone? How many of you have bought more than one iPhone, right? I think I'm on my 4th or maybe headed to the 5th version of the iPhone that I've had. And I didn't start at the very beginning. But for those people who bought the very first one, very rarely do they switch over to another brand because Apple has developed a sense of loyalty. They have just marketing to them. But there's a sales process that happens, and we can talk about this in another video as well. Why the sales process is not just a one-time thing, but it's an ongoing process that even after they've bought, you continue to sell them. All right. So let me know in the comments if this has been valuable for you, if it's helped you to understand a little bit more how you can get more sales, right? If you've got the leads and they're coming in, if you're ever generated a conversation where someone is having to decide whether they're going to buy from you, whether they're going to pay money to work with you in any capacity, then you want to have an understanding of how you can continually install that process where it's repeatable, it's predictable, and you can help people get a result even if they don't buy from you. But if you are allowing people to make empowered decisions, You're being a great leader, and you're going to be more successful because over time that compounds. In every conversation, you're going to be able to be the one that can consistently show up and lead them to the point where they can walk away knowing that they made the most powerful decision for themselves, their family, and their future. All right. With that being said, I would love to see you in the comments. If you're watching this on replay, drop a hashtag replay wherever you are. LinkedIn, follow us. Make sure you're following us there. If you're on Facebook, make sure you're following. If you're a member of the 7-Figure Circle $1 Million Mastermind, I'd love to see your comments below. If you're not yet a member of the 7-Figure Circle $1 Million Mastermind, I encourage you to join. We have a ton of amazing trainings over there, free master classes, a bunch of great content and support for entrepreneurs who are scaling their business from 6 to 7 figures and beyond. And if you're watching this on YouTube, why haven't you subscribed already? Hit the bell so you get the notifications, like, share, subscribe. Make sure that you're a member of our community as we continue to try and share this information with all those entrepreneurs out to build impactful businesses. I am your host, Frederick Douglass Bussey. It's been a pleasure serving you today, and I look forward to seeing you next time. As always, ever forward.